Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to take advice from one of my viewers, Anonymous Gameo1, and try out his suggestion. The reason I'm doing this is because I found some very interesting calculations and details that might surprise you. This suggestion actually inspired me to modify my build and make it much stronger. Now, let's implement what Anonymous suggested. Now, the viewer suggested the following talents for Blade Trap: 2 in Explosion, 3 in Burnout, and 3 in Final Burst. Now unfortunately, once enemy reach around level 70, they have so much HP that the Final Burst and Explosion that actually take us 4 talent points only to deal 3k damage, it's not efficient enough, making it poor choice for level 70 content. However, this setup might be better during early or mid game. Unfortunately, I have no plans to level another summoner build just to test it myself, so I can't confirm or deny whether this works or not at lower levels. Now the second suggestion is for the Sentry, and here when the things get interesting. The suggested talents are the following: 2 in Double Activation, 2 in Conservation, 2 in Burnout, 1 in Masterwork, and 3 in Enhanced Activations. Now I make a little bit of calculations and let's see what they are. Now from the tooltip we have 14 activations, which equals 14 hits. I have plus 50% increased activations from sources, making total of 21 hits, plus 72% double activation chance, put it into the mix, resulting of total of 36 hits. Plus 20% free activations, adding another couple of hits, resulting of 40 total hits. However, after counting hits frame by frame, I discover something interesting. Total hits should be 40, but since my sentry limit is 2, the game seems to divide the total shots between the number of maximum sentries, resulting in total of 20 hits. When revealing the footages frame by frame, there were 24, but this is basically chance, so technically should be 20. Now the viewer suggested that only 2 points should be included in Burnout, which result x 1.75 plus 50% increase from additional sources from the tree, and plus 55% increase total all speed from all the gear that I have, resulting that all of those 24 shots was fired in 4 seconds. Now keep in mind that full summon rotation, 2 blade traps and 2 sentries can be summoned in 2 seconds. This suggests that it's better for summon to release their activation as quickly as possible for maximum DPS. So I test a different setup. Therefore, I'm gonna propose a suggestion, a version of this that I believe it's better. Now, let's reduce the total activations from the tooltip to 10. This will result 10 hits. Now, increase activations does not change. 50% of 10 is 5, so we're ending up with 15 hits. Then we include the 72% double activation chance, which results us total of 25 hits. Free activation, it's removed, and now let me explain you why. The reason is, I believe free activations are bad for bossing, as they are pretty much extending the fight, slowing down the rotation. The number of free shot is small anyways, so those points are best to be invested in more damage. Now, of course, because we still have 2 maximum sentries that can be summoned at a time, we have to divide 25 by 2, which is equals 13 hits per sentry. Me, on the other hand, I decided to include 3 points in Burnout, resulting 2.5x speed. The other increases 50% increase activation speed and 55% total increase speed does not change. All of this resulting that one particular sentry will shoot all of the shots for 2 seconds. Now keep in mind the rotation, it's exactly 2 seconds, as every single one of the summons will use all the activations and hits and then will be resummoned by another, which means that we are not losing any DPS. Now let's look at some footages to confirm this theory in action. Keep in mind that for testing purposes I'm only using Sentry, so the rotation will be 1 second instead of 2, as no talents was confirmed or suggested for the Blade Trap. Next, I will combine Blade Trap with the same logic that we implemented in the Sentry. Then I'm gonna add Sentry into the mix, make the full rotation, and let's see how much better this will look. Even to my updated version, it's way better than the version I showed in my previous video. Sadly, it's not the most comfortable setup for clearing. And let me explain you why. You need to be very careful not to lose your divine cores while clearing areas. Because of that, I suggest removing masterwork while farming and investing more into double activation instead. This makes clearing smoother and prevents panic if you run out of divine cores. However, if you're fighting only 2 to 3 mobs, the chance of them dropping all the divine cores you spent on is very low. That makes masterwork less reliable for clearing content. Now let's jump into the third suggestion. The viewer suggestion was that if you go warfare, you're gonna be way more tankier. And I completely agree with that. I believe that if you want more tanky setup, warfare is the way to go. However, my original goal was to maximize DPS as much as possible. I wanted to push the DPS as much as possible with the crit version that it's only supported by the rogue tree. With that being said, thank you so much for the suggestions. Because of your comment, Anonymous Game01, I managed to modify and upgrade my build, turning it into true boss melter. I really appreciate the contribution and I hope we all learned something from this. Now I would like to implement something new in my videos. I'm planning to introduce a tier list into the mix. So let's begin it. Alright guys, so this will be the thing that we're gonna implement from now on, or might be implemented in every single video that I'm gonna do for a build. We're gonna do a tier list. This tier list will vary based on future patches, updates, implementation of new abilities, new items and whatnot. So this is going to be constantly updated and it makes me pretty excited. Now we're gonna be basically rating the build based on very criterias, and at the end we're gonna make overall rating and we're gonna put it in where it deserves in my opinion, for me. So let's start with the first criteria, which is the boss DPS. This is nothing to explain here. I think it's straight going for we are the boss actually and that's it. I don't think there is nothing needs to be explained. Now the next component, it's clear speed. Unfortunately this particular build it's not great with the clear speed, but it's not the most worst worst either. The main issue that I have with the clear speed is that first of all, when you include the blade trap and the mobs run away from it and you use a lot of divine cores for it, depends of which version of this build you are preferring to do, makes it a little bit hard to kill. However, blade trap it's really decent when a big group of monsters is surrounding you, making them very easily to clear. With the sentry on the other hand, well, there is many times when the sentry just shooting the terrain or any obstacle and does not even pay attention to the mobs that I'm trying to shoot, making it sometimes very useless. Unfortunately, the sentry, if for example was having ricochet or homing or multi-shot or something like that, it was definitely going to be at least like maybe super fast somewhere over here. But I give it around A tier, and the main reason even with these downsides is that the ridiculous amount of DPS that it does on level 70 mobs. So we're just gonna keep it at A for now, because even if we have some obstacles and these abilities are not the greatest, it still perform and does a lots of damage. Moving on, how tanky this is. Well, we have to agree this is not the Forge, it's not combined with Warfare like the viewer suggested, so it's not that tanky. However, we are clearing and killing everything before they can even react. So why would you invest in defenses when everything is dead before they're even even do anything. So I give it A tier, but if that was really tanky setup, I was going to give it a solid tier. However, we're still pretty tanky compared to other builds that I have, so yeah, A tier, I think it's pretty well deserved. Now, what is the leveling experience with that particular build? In my opinion, it's great because Sentry, it's very easily accessible. This is basically once you kill the Griffin boss, and you can invest in a lot of Divine Core talents, which means that you can comfortably have the Divine Cores to, you know, spam the Sentry, which makes it pretty nice because once you pick up the Sentry, everything becomes easy mode. So no brainer, I'm putting it in smooth. There is nothing that actually difficult leveling with Sentry. I don't recommend leveling with Blade Trap for the simple fact that there is a lot of range units and it's just not efficient. It's good for lots of group of monsters if they're close to you and they're in like the same location, but I just prefer to level up with Sentry for this particular build. Now moving on to fun. Is this build fun? And yes and no. Basically, if you run out Divine Cores, this is super annoying, so you need to die and you need to respawn with a little bit of Divine Cores to do some stuff, and this could be very frustrating sometimes, especially if you are, you know, you're in a long streak, like a couple of hours in, you know, stuff like that can be very annoying. It's annoying that the Blade Trap sometimes get ignored by the enemy. It's very annoying when enemies are destroying your trap with AoE abilities before they even activate. This can be very easily fixed with one of the talents from the Forge tree, which is called Immunity. And about the Sentry, the thing that I hate the most is when they're just shooting the terrain instead of mobs, so it's actually very annoying. However, the good part is that we're melting everything. Nothing actually stand a chance. It's dying for seconds, so that's kind of pretty fun. Boss are absolutely obliterated like we saw, so that's kind of fun. So I will give it maybe between A and B. I mean, maybe A. All right, let's give it right here. The next parameter is how easy it is to build. And I can assure you that the items are extremely easy because the only thing that you're looking for is increase summon damage, increase all speed, and here and there maybe potentially increase activations, as you know, more speed and summon damage is more important. However, it's very hard to gather the charms, I think they're called, the little stones that you're including into the gear. I'm 100% that they call charms. Okay, anyway, so those ones are very hard to be find because they usually drops from the enemies that you're seeing the less, which means that combining those charms is kind of difficult. But with that being said, the DPS and the potential of this build, it's just gonna be good without them or with them. The build will still perform pretty well. Now for the talents, it's completely brainless, like everything related to your summons, and if you invest correctly into your Sentry, the build, it's just played itself. You don't need to calculate, think or whatever. It's super brainless, so I give it absolutely very easy to build such a build. And now for the final parameter, and this is overall rating. Technically speaking, it could be unacceptable because it's sometimes annoying to play with it, as I explained it before. But this build, it's absolutely broken, and I do believe that in future will come, you know, Titan 2 Quest developers will come with the nerf hammer and definitely nerf some way or change something, because right now it's absolutely broken. So guys, thank you so much for watching. This will be the end of the video. I hope you're well, take care of yourselves and stay positive, and I really hope I see you guys in our next video.